right?
Sean Cunningham joining us, of course, from Fox 40. How long have you been here today, Sean?
At the arena, I got here 10:15.
Look at that.
And there was a little bit of a wait outside the building before we could get in. And,
Oh, great.
Really? What was the media contingent like at shoot-arounds?
It was the largest of the year.
Really?
For a pregame shooter, not for practice. For people to know, practice obviously, more in the afternoon. But the walkthrough, the pregame shoot-around stuff is a little bit different. Obviously, the practices, and typically you might see one or two stations, maybe a visiting beat writer or two. This one was quite sizable. Oh, hello.
Yeah, hello. Sorry about that.
Camera.
Yeah,
a little quite sizable. A little bit uncomfortable at times with cameras and tripods and bumping into people, but I mean, we were
people that aren't normally there, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people news reporters here too, or anything, or is it mostly sport?
Mostly sport. I mean, ESPN is here. They're represented, of course. I mean, Michael C. Wright, who just had the piece in ESPN.com, and he's definitely around the Spurs all the time. But they were here, and I think a lot of the more national folks will be here later tonight. But if you haven't seen the people who know the court across from the visitors' bench, right over there where you see Sacramento, if you're watching on the baseline, that whole corner was occupied as De'Aaron Fox faced that corner, and we all gathered around him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What are you expecting tonight from a crowd reaction, if you will, to De'Aaron?
As a lifelong Sacramentan, and I know Whitey's been here forever as well. I mean, I feel like Kings fans have a classy reputation for a reason.
Yeah.
I think they can look at a broad piece of work and kind of take it for respect for what it is. And obviously there's been some crazy moments lately, but I feel like it's going to be overwhelmingly positive. There's going to be a tribute video. There's going to be, they're going to represent him, I think, the right way. I think there's definitely going to be a chorus of boos. I think there are literally people who paid money for this game specifically to boo the guy out of the gym. I don't tell anybody how to fan. Go do what you do. You spend your hard-earned money, and you have your feelings and your emotions and all that. I think he as a player has told us he's kind of prepared for anything, and he's been booed before. I don't know quite if he's ever been the target of constant booing and all that stuff, but I think he's ready to accept whatever. And why do you remember this? Mitch Richmond didn't have the greatest exit. People thought he'd quit, and he had demanded a trade for a greater part of a year. His jersey's hanging in the rafters.
Right.
There's plenty of guys who didn't want to be here and had unceremonious endings, and they're all typically throughout the course of Kings history are treated rather well. Certainly there's a few that aren't.
There haven't been a lot of ceremonious endings. Most of them have been unceremonious, and then eventually everybody gets over it. But let me follow up on that. And you touched on this, but you covered De'Aaron a long time. Yeah. What did you think of the way he responded to the questions and is responding to, the potential drama tonight?
Yeah, and there's Draper, that saying, point to the lie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like he's been pretty honest. Now, look, I think some of the things that people fell in love with De'Aaron Fox, he and I say all the time, different years, but we're born on the same day. And I have a dry, sarcastic, smart aleck kind of
wit,
sense of humor and wit. Yeah. I feel like we could all agree that he definitely has that, probably 10 times more than myself. And I feel like people used to love that about him. And all he's doing is now directing that in a different way. And I don't feel that there's a lot of dishonesty there. I feel he's speaking from the heart. I think he can certainly have handled things a little bit better on the way out. But I loved what he told Michael C. Wright, just as a casual observer, and just saying, it's my career, and clearly him being out there, being bothered by not only the decision to fire Mike Brown, but then having nobody explain it. It was certainly to all three of us. We were wondering the same thing. Why are you leaving your players out to dry? And, Fox is kind of the poster child for that. Man, I get it. I get it, certainly. And I think by virtue of not hearing from people immediately, and it created a lot of this. And unfortunately, he had to play the guy in the black hat looking like the bad guy.
Let me ask you this, because in today's day and age, it seems like we're looking for somebody to blame.
Yeah.
Whether it's the organization, De'Aaron Fox, somebody has to be the bad guy. In your honest opinion, is there a bad guy in this situation, or is it just the nature of basketball? It had run its course. Both sides, whether it's the organization or De'Aaron, probably could have done some things differently. How do you view it?
That's such a
Keep it real,
yeah,
Sean.
man.
Your credential ain't going to get revoked, big fella. You can keep it real.
I'll say this, man. Like
He says that, but if he doesn't like your answer, he will snatch
Yeah.
it.
I don't want to sound like a politician here. I want to have more conversations to really be able to truly say, all right, there's the bad guy in this all, because there's a lot of things that I think people don't know.
Yeah.
And I think there's things that have been hinted at. And I think certainly you've got 2 national reports today that really shined a lot of light on what's going on here in both ESPN and The Athletic. But, truly here locally, there's been a lot of dysfunction, and you can always point to the dysfunction. There's been, if a player wanting stability, accountability, and all that, like, how do you get vilified for that? But you're supposed to be the guy, and being objective. You've been here almost 8 years, De'Aaron Fox. You had 1 All-Star appearance. You got in as an injury reserve, not to take away because you put up numbers, but it's hard to make an All-Star team in Sacramento.
Yeah.
1 playoff appearance that was unceremonious exit, and you gave it your all and you broke the streak. But I think there was it feels like his legacy. I've been asked a lot about what his legacy is, and it feels so incomplete. To look at a bad guy, I think it had just run its course. I really don't, in my opinion, I don't think there's totally a bad guy in all this.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly you've got decision makers in the front office and ownership, and they're put in position to make this team a championship contender and sustain playoff success. You don't have that. So at the end of the day, I feel like it was a necessary exit. But the one thing that just continues to bother me every time I see it, De'Aaron Fox not committing to Sacramento to go for a supermax. The possibility of going to a supermax shouldn't have been vilified, shouldn't have been looked at as you're not committing to Sacramento. Because if he gets a supermax, if he gets an all NBA, the money is completely different. You get to the summer, and then that extension should still be there in theory, right? I think somewhere along the line of that, you decided, well, I don't really, here we are the Kings meddling in this mediocrity, and all of a sudden now maybe decisions are changed. They either want someone who's all in or not at all.
All things considered, Sean Cunningham's with us. How important is this game for the Kings tonight?
Well, I mean, they were talking about the rest of the schedule in terms of second hardest schedule the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Every game being a playoff atmosphere to really kind of solidify what type of postseason run that they're going to have or any kind of success. I mean, you've got jobs on the line, both in the front office. You got jobs in line with Doug Christie. You got an assistant coach who's on his way to Florida State soon.
Yeah.
So there are so many variables that to me, every game is important. I don't know that coming out here and, completely shutting down De'Aaron Fox and it's going to make swing one way and say it's a must win, but I just feel like there's a weight to all these games. And if you look at just how huddled up all these teams are, you can't look back and say you didn't take care of business. That being said, you're not going to go 27-0 to finish the season. So
would you agree that perhaps this game is more meaningful, putting the Fox stuff aside, but it's more meaningful because it appears to be one of your less challenging games that you have here coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, you got to take care of business.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that, you can't control who your opponent is. And sometimes I feel like the praise of beating a team you're supposed to beat doesn't carry the weight of when you lose to a team and says, oh, you can't, like that all of a sudden it carries so much criticism and fans react to the way that you lose to a team you're supposed to beat.
Right.
It's if I had told, like Draper, you were just on this road trip. If I had told anybody, hey, they're going to go 3-1,
we would have taken.
You're taking it right now.
Everybody except this guy next to you.
3-1's great, but that last one hurt, Sean.
It does, right?
Yeah,
I get it. DeMar DeRozan had to pay for it.
Yeah.
You got to find that $25,000 for the comments after the game. Sean, with that being said, obviously big game tonight, big game Sunday. How would you assess where the team is? Not the organization, but the way they've been playing as of late. Is there still reason for optimism here with 20 games left to go?
Yeah, I'm not known for being this optimism kind of guy and glass half full all the time, just because I kind of feel like I can tell it how it is. But I feel like I'm the guy that's drinking the Kool-Aid all of a sudden.
Okay.
Not that I'm expecting them to be world beaters, but people are so far down on the team before this road trip that I was like, guys, look around. Like there's still a lot going on with this team.
Yeah.
And I think had they not snapped the playoff skid, for them to still be sort of relevant and doing what they're doing after firing their head coach and moving their franchise player, I don't know what to expect. Like nothing would surprise me at this point, but if you told me they finish 6th, I'll believe you. If you told me they fall out of the playoffs and out of the postseason play-in tournament, I'd believe you. But right now, after this road trip, like they have a give a damn about them. The one thing I was like, the two things I was really convinced of this team, they can put up numbers, they can score with anybody, but they're also so bad that they can't make any stops. This road trip showed me something, guys.
They played some defense on this road trip.
Yeah.
They showed that give a damn that I've been talking about, where it's like, okay, and look, however it happens, whether it's someone like De'Aaron Fox saying how bad this organization, has treated him, or so, like, expectations are there, and Doug has them playing well. Like, guys, I never would have thought Doug Christie would have had them with this record.
Yeah, right. 19-11, Doug as a coach. I think over the 30 games. So,
and and it's funny. He starts. You guys, we were talking about this. He starts in a way where he takes over a team, and he's so optimistic, so positive. That turns a little bit. He's showing accountability. He's now starting to talk a little bit more critical of his team, but still killing them with the optimism. It has them believing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, guys, I expect them to be in the conversation, and I expect them to probably fall into the play-in tournament. But I'm really anticipating anything. And boy, Jonas Valanciunas sure looks good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and here we are. It's March 7th, and the Kings are playing meaningful games. Let's enjoy it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sean Cunningham, Fox 40.
Time, guys.
Great Kings coverage, Fox 40, of course. We got Sean Elliott top of the hour. When we come back, Kings may have gotten the type of help you don't really wish for last night. That's next from the Golden One